Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Reckless Optimist podcast. My name is Megan. I'm a family nurse practitioner with a deep passion for mental health. On this show, we showcase guests who have shown tenacity, grit, mental strength, and who embody the word resilience. A quick disclaimer before we start. This show is not a substitute for mental diagnosis or treatment. We do recommend that if you're struggling with your own emotional well-being, you see a mental health provider. I'm so excited that you guys are here. Let's get into it. Hey, everyone. Today on the podcast, we have Carrie. Carrie and I met through the online recovery community. She is a beautiful person with a beautiful soul. Her story really is amazing and super inspiring. She, developed an unhealthy relationship with alcohol in her 30s and 40s. Developed that kind of bad relationship with the mommy wine culture. But we talk about how she had a really transformative day, how God plays a huge part in her recovery, and how she's now helping women. She is a life coach with an organization called She Breaks Free, and she's doing some really amazing work in the world of recovery. I know you guys are going to love this story. Let's get into it. I'm so glad that you're here. You are so pretty, by the way, for the listeners that have got to watch the video. She has the most gorgeous symmetrical face and glasses.
Well, right back at you, sister. You're beautiful.
Where are you coming in from?
I live in Baton Rouge.
So you're in the South like me. All right.
Yeah.
I've been to New Orleans. That was wild.
Part of my story is I've been to New Orleans as well.
But it's interesting. There's so much culture there. It almost feels like Europe a little.
It is. It's a lot different than a lot of places I've traveled in the world, for sure.
Yeah, I loved all the food and the art. It was a lot cooler than I thought. That was just a party town, which it definitely is, but there was more to it.
Yeah, it's got its beautiful parts to it, for sure.
So we're going to start our episode out with a quote. And what's really cool about your episode is the quote I'm using is from you. I found this quote on your page and it stopped me. It really stopped me. So the quote goes, "Alcohol isn't your escape. It's your ceiling," by Carrie LeBlanc. What does this quote mean to you?
Yes. Well, alcohol was my escape, and it's an escape for so many of us women, and that's what we think it is. And when I talk to ladies, they'll say, I use it to numb me, and it sounds kind of silly saying a buzz, but that's exactly what it feels. It's like when we're anticipating alcohol, we're anticipating that it's going to do a job. And in reality, it's just escaping from our current situation to put us into relaxation, less stress, make us feel like we're having more fun. And then we realize when it becomes a problem that it really is the ceiling, and it's the ceiling for our careers because we're so tired, we're not getting the sleep that we need, or we're having brain fog, and we're not asking for the promotions, or we're not working as hard as we should. Or it's like, okay, you know what? I thought I wanted all that big stuff. I'm just going to settle for this, when really it's the alcohol that's just creating that ceiling. The same can be said for parenting. We have all these big goals and aspirations for our children. And once that nightly habit kicks in at 5 o'clock, it's like, well, you know what? Maybe we don't need to go to the park after school. Maybe we can just hang in and I'll drink some wine. Same with, the health. It's like, well, nothing's wrong with my health right now. And we just forget that the clock adds up. So it becomes a ceiling in a lot of ways. And we realize that it's not the relaxation, the escape that we once thought it was.
Yeah. And it's tricky because we're so inundated with messages from commercials and ads and just society in general. We've just been conditioned over time to think that it's a life elixir, when in reality, I think dropping the bottle is a life hack,
Sure.
We're looking for.
The drink that we had in our 20s, a lot of women will say to me, I don't go to bars, and the bar has become our home.
Yeah.
I don't know many people who are single or not single going out to bars per se, like we did in our 20s. We've just shifted it to a cocktail bar within our own home, a refrigerator filled with wine that's really convenient.
Yeah, I think COVID reinforced that even more, with the deliveries that they did, big old boxes of wine. Yeah, I mean, for me, this quote brings up a lot. When I first read it, I had a visual metaphor of like a small room. Like alcohol, you think you're escaping into this unknown, but really you're just in this tiny little room where everything is the same. Every time I would drink, it was literally creating the same thing, the same experience over and over and over in my brain. Now, when you're sober, newer, you're so much more expansive. The things that you can do, like you were talking about, you can go to dinner, you can drive, you can have all of these new experiences instead of just staying in that little tiny box that alcohol puts you in. And then the other thing it made me think of is like in sobriety, you create a life that you don't even need to escape from, you know? Granted, there's ebbs and flows and stressors, but you don't need these like big acts of escape them anymore because your life is more steady and not this like huge up and down roller coaster.
I think that is so beautiful. And the women, that I speak with, fear holds us back, doesn't it? And that little room that you're describing, I'm picturing it as well. That was so beautiful what you said. That room becomes manageable and predictable. And even though it might be miserable, like I say, managing your misery, it's predictable. And so women will say, I'm scared because I don't know what that other side looks like. And our brain just automatically goes to comfort of I know what to expect. And so with all that willpower and might and moderation and everything that we think that we can just muster up, even though that little bitty room doesn't feel so good, it's predictable and it keeps us stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, stuck. And I don't want to be stuck. I want to be free. I want to run free.
I always say, we're not lying to you. It really is that good. You've just got to be bold and courageous enough to take that first step for sure. And
Yeah, and
it
ask for
might be
help.
the 50th or 100th step, but it will stick. It will stick.
Yeah. I love that. So I can't wait to hear your story. So wherever you feel comfortable, just take us back to the beginning.
Oh, thank you so much for giving me that space. Yeah, so Louisiana, and I don't want to blame it on our culture, but the college age to drink was 18. And we would all stand outside the bars on our 17th or, 18th birthday, and away we went. And it was really a part of the culture. So it was just acceptable. And you cannot predict the future. You can't see what a habit at 18-year-old creates when you're 40 years old. And that's exactly what happened because it was just so ingrained. And I really, at that point, probably stalled a lot of lessons of how to grow emotionally and how to do things without alcohol. It just became expected. So in my 20s, my corporate career, my sales career, that was just dinners out with doctors and a lot of drinking going on during those days. And then I moved to corporate and I became a sales trainer and managed people. And there was a lot of drinking around that too. So my 20s were spent, it was just justified drinking. Like, well, this is what everybody's doing. And I didn't think I had a problem then. Then my 30s, I had my children and mommy wine culture was alive and strong. And the woman that wrote Sippy Cups are for Chardonnay, she doesn't even drink anymore. But I gobbled that book up, and that's what we do. We just look for that justification of like, well, this is what moms are doing. This will get me through that witching hour, And then lo and behold, I'm now in my 40s and I'm still drinking. But our brain doesn't forget. And the brain fog sets in and all these things start happening, piecing together conversations. Did I say that? Do I owe an apology? Did I make a fool of myself? That ceiling that's been created. And one day it just becomes too much. And I had waited 5 long years, prayed for a man to come into my life. I was a single mom that whole time, raising my children. And I finally met the man. And we would have fun and date and drink together. And after a couple of years, I had a night where I said things that I never meant. We were having the best time together. We were having so much fun. And I was mixing drinks throughout the night. And before you know it, I was crying hysterically, blaming him for things that just weren't even true. And so he's like, I need to take you home. I can't get you back at this moment. So he drove me home the next morning. I woke up, we were serving at our church, and I forgot for a moment what I had done and accused him of. And this wave just came over me and I was like, do we even have this relationship anymore? I was so scared. In the background, God had been working on me for a long time, saying, you need to give it up. You need to give it up. And Megan, I would come to God and I would say, but I serve in church and I volunteer and I do these really nice things for people that I'm not shouting it from the rooftops. I'm just, what I do. could I just hold on to this? And he said, no, Carrie, you've got to let it go. And when you do, I'm going to open the door for you. I'm going to turn your pain into purpose, and I'm going to help you help many women. And that night was the last night I drank. I don't even call it like a rock bottom because I think I could have really gone much further. It was just the wake up call that I needed. I would say, don't wait for a rock bottom. I can't even imagine, it's hard sometimes when you lose control and you black out and you just don't even remember what happens. Like that's a good wake up call. So yeah, that was it. And at the same time, I was getting my life coaching certification, and I just felt this calling, like sobriety. God said he would use me, and that's who I help. I help women, and they come to me and they don't want to quit, because who does? Who wants to quit?
Yeah.
But they know they need to, and they need support, and that's what I get to do.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, your story gave me chills about how God spoke to you. Like, I literally have chills on my arm. I had a similar experience with God. I joke that he slapped me across my face that one morning, or I don't know, he put his hand on me and he spoke to me. And I had not been a woman of faith before that. I was always very curious about it, but didn't grow up with it. And yeah, he spoke to me so clear that day. And I know for a fact that he gave me a second chance. I mean, ultimately, we have to take radical responsibility over our lives, but the brain fog and you're just in this dark tunnel, it's hard to do that. It's hard to grip the reins of your own life. But that little nudge from God, from a spiritual power, oh my God, it catapulted me out of that dark hole as it did for you. So I love that.
Man, I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah, and that's what we're called to do. It's like we're called to not live a life of misery. We're not called for that. So there's so much more life to be lived, and I just think it's beautiful that women are figuring this out and they're looking for help. And it doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't matter where you get your help. I just want you to get help. I just know that the women that I talk to appreciate the one-to-one, and maybe they've tried other avenues. This is just what works for them.
Yeah, no, I think that's so great. And I love how you talked about you turned your pain into purpose.
I
That's
did.
beautiful. I wanted to ask you some questions. So that day that you stopped drinking, did you call a sponsor? Did you call a therapist? Did you use any type of program? How did that first year go for you?
Great question. So I took what I knew about science and also my faith, and I combined the two. And in the beginning, I cried. Crying is my go-to emotion. I grieved. I grieved the loss of alcohol. And sometimes I can't even believe that comes out of my mouth, because as a child, I don't think anybody would ever imagine that they would grieve a substance. But I did. It was my nightly habit. It was my go-to. It was on my grocery shopping list. So I went grocery shopping at 7 a.m. after I dropped the kids off, because we have liquor stores in our grocery stores, and I didn't want to go by a liquor department. I started using the crock pot in the morning because my children are old enough, they can serve themselves. Like, you guys are going to need to be in the kitchen this until I can come back in at this time, because right now I just associate this habit with wine, making dinner and wine. I tried mocktails for a while, but then I have nothing against them, but what I realized, Megan, was I was replacing one habit with another, and it was all about the drinking again, and trying to chase a high with mocktails that I was never going to get. And then I just said, no, I can't do this. So I took my life coaching certification skills and I started retraining my brain. And that's the first step of my program and She Breaks Free, is we retrain your brain, because right now it's just in a dopamine loop. Until it's rewired, it's going to stay that way. And it's going to keep expecting alcohol. It's going to keep expecting some type of happy rise, and it's going to want that alcohol to do it for it. So I did that. And then the second thing I did, that's also in my program, is I had to heal. I had to figure out what alcohol had become the solution for. And that hurt a bit, because I had to dig deep. And I thought I had already done all the therapy. But I had to figure out, what are you hiding from? What is it becoming the mask to? And I worked through that. And I was like, gosh, this is all coming together. This is all flowing very nicely. And then I had to connect again. I had to connect in life without alcohol, making those first brave steps as we all do to say, I'm not drinking, to all of a sudden becoming like, oh yeah, don't worry about Carrie. She'll get something else to drink. She doesn't drink. Like people speak up for you. Or like I would meet people out and they go, they have a mocktail menu.
It's so cute.
And you're like,
I
thanks for looking out for me. And then the fourth thing is like now connecting and then just no longer the ceiling. Who am I? Who do I want to be? I want to be a woman that serves other women. That's what I did. And it worked so well. And the science worked so well. And the emotional part of it worked so well that now is working so well for the people that I serve.
I love that. That's awesome. Those were really good, helpful advice. I love what you were talking about, how you changed your habits. The
Yes.
kitchen is such a trigger if you were a person that cooked with wine and all of that. I had a patient one time. I work with lots of patients, but my favorite types of patients are the ones that are having addiction issues or mental health issues. And, a lot of them, I try my best and we work to get them sober, but stats are against you. A lot of them don't get sober. However, I had one patient that did get sober, stayed sober, and he came to see me a year when he got his 1 year chip. And I asked him, I was like, so what was it? What habit made this stick for you? Because he had tried many times. And you know what he told me? He said, I had to change my drive home. I had to go a completely different route home because he was one that would always stop at the same liquor store, get his drink and drink it on his way home. And all he did was change his route home and that changed his life.
Yes. One of my clients said to me, she said, I probably should pop back in that liquor store and just like give away from the door. She said, I guarantee you, no kidding. She said, they probably think something tragic happened to me because they could count on me every single day. And she said, I drive past it now and it's just like another building. It doesn't even faze me anymore. I also took random baths. I just commented on somebody's Instagram. I'm like, if I was feeling the urge, I was like, okay, you've got to just get your body doing something completely different. And I would listen to a podcast and I would go take a bath and I would just stay in there until the moments passed and the water would turn cold. And I'd be like, all right, well, got to move on. But yeah, you do what works.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I think that first year I really struggled with, well, I don't like what I'm feeling right now, but I can't drink. So how do I feel different than I do right now? And I love the use of the bath because it's a, immersion experience, especially could even go a higher level and do a cold water bath,
Sure.
It'd be a little painful, but that's really good advice. I love that. How has, recovery changed your relationship with your children?
I would say with my children, they see their mom as more present and spend so much more time with them. Like we'll do family game nights, we'll watch movies together, and anyone else might look at that and say, well, duh. But when you let alcohol become the priority, and it doesn't start out as the priority in the night, it's just the habit. But then the second drink comes, and then the third drink comes. And it's like, I never meant to not be present. The wine has taken over and now I'm not. So they could still come and talk to me. I could still be there, but just not as present as I'd want to be. The other thing was recycling. That's a real thing. I talk about this with my clients. It's like when the wine bottles outnumber any other bottles in your recycling, that's a good sign that it's monopolizing a lot of your time. And then patience. You can lose your patience with a 13 and a 17-year-old just like you can with a little 4 or 5-year-old. And my patience is a lot better now that I don't have that stress. We think that alcohol helps with stress and anxiety. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's a depressant. And once your levels drop, you become stressed and anxious until you get another drink. Mm-hmm. It's not the patient, relaxed mommy that you think you're being, really.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
I realized that I did break, I hate to say curse, but I broke it for my family. They're going to grow up not seeing their mom drinking. And that's just huge. That will impact their life and the choices that they make.
Yeah, changing generations for future generations. I think that's amazing. Were you in a family where your parents drank?
Yeah, and everyone, just a lot of people. That's just, and look, there's no judgment, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know what they're feeling inside. They might not have a problem with it. I did.
Right. Yeah. And then just being in the culture of
Louisiana and the drinking
And
culture.
not all of us drink. Like the church that I go to, I'm meeting more and more people that don't drink. So it's also environments change, which is good too. You can have all kinds of friends.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about your boyfriend. How did that relationship turn out after that night?
He picked me up the next morning and I was so scared. I was so scared. When I tell you, like, I just love this man and the person that he's been to my children is unbelievable. And to imagine losing him. And I walked outside because I could see him coming up the drive. And I walked outside and I just kind of had my head down. And he got out of his truck and he stood there with his arms wide open. And he gave me this huge hug. And he said, "We're not going to do that again." And I said, "No, we're done."
Oh, I got chills again.
And I talk all the time about when you're dating and it's like, what do you do on your first date? Go for a drink, second, third, fourth, fifth. Like, how do you get to know someone? Drinking. How do you loosen up? But our relationship is so much better. And it was a great relationship. But now that there's no alcohol, it's just like, it's more fun. It's more alive. It's more free. We just can't even imagine being those same people that we were drinking and thinking that that was the activity that was making it fun.
Right.
We're fun together.
Yeah, I love that. So is he a normie or does he just not drink?
His relationship with alcohol is completely different. Completely. He's probably someone that could have like a bottle of bourbon in his house and he doesn't, but it would sit there for 3 years. But we're all different.
Yeah. Whenever you were in, your experience with drinking, did you ever try to put limits or rules around your drinking?
I ask this question to every single woman because yes, we all do it. Yes. So at first it was just a couple of glasses and it was only on the weekend. And then a glass turned into, a couple glasses would turn into a bottle. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to have more than 2 bottles in the house at a time. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, now you save money if you buy 6 bottles. I mean, it was just like, okay, I'm not going to drink vodka. I'm not going to drink margaritas. I'm just going to stick with wine. And I'm going to wait till 7 o'clock so that I can just have a glass or two. And then 9 o'clock, I'm going to shut it down. There were many, many times that I quit. And I hear this so often. It's like, well, I can quit. Can I just address challenges just for a moment? I'm all for a good challenge. But I think it can trick us into believing that we can make something permanent. But if it's just to get through the 30 days without really working on the reasons why you're drinking, there's such a huge percentage of going back to drinking. And so I would do those. But it was more to prove to myself that I could, but not really ever having the intentions that I would formally stick with it. And so those were some of the rules. Like, well, look what I can do. I can not drink for 4 weeks, right? And then 4 weeks would go by and it's like, here we go.
Yeah.
Not ever getting to the root cause of why I wanted it so badly.
Yeah, it's so interesting what you're talking about, the challenges, the 30-day, Lent, dry January, sober October. Yeah, I mean, I think what you're talking about there, it's willpower,
Yes.
right? So that's using your willpower, but willpower will always run out. So you really, in order to get long-term sobriety, you have to deconstruct the beliefs you have around alcohol, that it makes you funny, that you need it to relax, that it helps your anxiety, that it makes you funny, that it makes you pretty. You have to deconstruct all of the subliminal messages that you've been given your whole life. And then you have to create a new identity of someone that does not drink. That's how you stay sober. Willpower will only get you to maybe 30, 60, 90 days, but deconstructing the beliefs will give you a lifetime.
Absolutely. And reframing it. I think if we reframed it, instead of saying, I have to quit, it's like, I get to live.
I love that.
I get to shatter that ceiling. And there is no ceiling. I can be everything that I want to be. I'm not letting this hold me back. It's reframing it. Like, look at all I get to do. Sunrises, the first sober vacation that I took, and we were up so early. And I said, let's go watch the sunrise. Let's watch it come up on the ocean. And they just happened to have this little juice bar that was open. And we were cracking up because we were doing we're doing shots of like turmeric and ginger.
Turned up.
Watching the sunrise at 5:30 in the morning, drinking turmeric ginger shots at an all-inclusive, all drinks around you all day resort, you know? And I thought, how did I end up here? It was a work trip for him. It's possible. And now I can't imagine going on a vacation and drinking.
Mhm.
That would ruin the whole experience for me. But those are the things that in the beginning stages, when you're like, how am I supposed to live with alcohol? I want to manage this misery. It's so predictable. It sucks, but I'm going to keep doing it because I can't imagine that life would be better without alcohol. That's where you have to reframe it and just say, I get to live. I get to do these things.
Yeah. I love your experience with the sunrise at the beach because I had a very similar one. I remember I was with a bunch of people drinking and I went out for a run. Everyone was asleep and I was like walking over to the beach and the sun was coming up over the horizon. I just started crying. I was like, how have I missed this for 34 years? I've been sleeping in with a hangover, not experiencing the world and nature and what it has to offer. And now every time I go on a beach vacation, I always wake up early and watch the sunrise.
I know. It's such a difference and you just feel a part of life. Yeah, I got chills when you said that because it's so real. It's just like you're in awe. You can be in awe of so many things. That's how long I drank.
But the 34? Oh my gosh. Wow, we're twins. We're twins. I wanted to ask you about that first year. So you kind of had what we would call a spontaneous sobriety moment. So, you didn't plan for it to be your last drink. That first 72 hours, did you have any withdrawal? And then that first year, did you have any cravings?
I didn't have, I think what I had was more of like a sugar withdrawal because I did drink wine. I didn't really drink vodka. So it was wine, a lot of sugar in that. And that was what I really was craving more than anything. No, I didn't have withdrawals. I guess technically you could maybe call this a withdrawal. I had a lot of trouble sleeping. My body had a lot of trouble adjusting to actually sleeping because it had that false start until 3 a.m. And there's that magic number of 3 a.m. Like that is not a joke. That 3 a.m. is real and you're up and it's like maybe a little bit of sweating and anxiety kicks in, looking at the clock, like I've got to be somewhere in the morning. I'm not going to do this again. Next night, do it again. But yeah, that's really what happened in those first 72 hours and then extended. And then it just all worked itself out. Something about knowing that I wasn't playing around and that God was a part of it and having my purpose to help other women, that became my focus.
Wanted to talk to you about your organization, She Breaks Free. How did that come to be and how does the program work?
I can mentor without judgment, without giving any shame. I say this, and I'm probably the only one that thinks this is funny, but I tell everyone, like, you're not unique, and I'm very sorry, in your drinking story. Like, your story, it's your silent struggle, but it's everybody's. Like, we have all faced everything that you're explaining to me. Hiding bottles, all the tricks, all the things that you do to trick your spouse, all the things that you tell yourself in your head. You're just not unique in that way. It's a very common thing, like all these patterns that all of us do. I just thought about what helped me and now it's been reproduced and I know it helps others so it's called She Breaks Free and freedom is where it's at, right? And so the first step is she rewires. Like I said, we have to rewire your brain. The second step is she heals. Why were you drinking in the first place? What is that emotional connection and what emotions are you trying to hide? What's alcohol become the solution for? Step 3 is she connects spiritually with getting to know who you are, where you want to be in life, what you want to do. And then she rises. Let's go. What are your values? Let's get back to your values. Let's get back to that. Do you even know who you are? At this age, 40s and 50s and 60s, sometimes women are like, I'm not even sure who I am anymore. So let's not just leave you quitting drinking. Let's launch you into what your legacy is.
Yeah. I love that. I love the analogy of when I was drinking, it was like I got on a sailboat and I laid down and I just let the water take me wherever it wanted to take me. But when you get sober, you stand up and you start to steer the ship, right? And so you take such control over your life when you get sober. And it sounds like that's what you're teaching these women to do. And I'm a big fan of core values. I have my 5 core values that my
Yes.
core values are my foundation and I do everything from those core values. And a lot of people have never even given any thought to what theirs are. And I think that's so good that you're doing that for women. What are some of your core values?
Yes, like protecting my peace, right? And that means that nothing disturbs anymore. I think my peace lies within who God wants me to be and to live in his image. And it's just like, what are the things that I do every day that I can lay my head on my pillow at night and say, I've been a good and faithful servant? Not that it doesn't mean I'm a sinner, but what am I doing? Like that's a huge value of mine. My family, that I'm showing them how to show up in life and not to use artificial crutches for things, right? You know, your relationships and your integrity, your word. That means so much. If somebody can't trust your word, what can they trust about you? So those are just some of the few, or some of them, but
Those are really good ones. Yeah. I mean, I think when life comes at you fast, you can always know, well, I will always act in alignment with my core values.
that's
And
exactly right.
yeah, and if you think about your life like a house, like your core values are the foundation
That's it.
of your house. So
Yeah.
they're the building blocks of what everything should come from, and they're very individualistic. What mine aren't going to be the same as yours, and it's good to do a deep self inventory into what really matters to you. You know.
Absolutely. And you're right. Many people don't think about it. So it's a wonderful exercise that we do that really gets you back so quickly to at the core who you are so that you can quickly start to see who you want to become.
So do you work with everyone one on one, or do you do group settings? How does your program work?
Right now, it's one-on-one, and I take a certain amount of women at a time so that I can be truly dedicated to them. So what I went through, the pillars, that's the backbone of my program. But of course, every woman is individual. So what I do is I'm like, okay, I have my checklist of how she's progressing, but within that, because it's also life coaching, where are you right now and how can we move you forward from that, and doing some deeper exercises on our calls. And I like to say, just let me run the show. And they come up 4 weeks into it. My husband wants to know what we're talking about because I'm a changed woman over here, And I'm like, I'm telling you, it doesn't take long, and we still have 4 more weeks to go. It truly is incredible. And I think just being accountable one-on-one to somebody is very helpful. I do want to get into group settings, but I know that in the beginning, it's like when we treat ourselves like we're this precious newborn in this new life that we're navigating, we kind of just put ourselves in bubble wrap, and we're the only one that kind of knows the secret that we're changing up life. It might not be ready for like a big announcement just yet. I think the women that come to me appreciate just kind of having that two-person huddle, and as it grows a little more comfortable and you get a little older in your infancy, it's like, okay, I might be able to serve other people with my story, and then they're ready to share. So that's just my approach, but I think I just want women to get support. That's what I want. However it feels right and best for you, that's what I want for women.
I think that's so great. I've been sober for 6 years and I tried everything. I was like, whatever, I will do whatever it takes. Like, I will try every form of recovery group. And I did. I went to every group, Celebrate Recovery, Smart Recovery, AA. And while AA is amazing in the structure discipline that they provide, it's very male dominant. So having a space for women like you are creating is, I mean, amazing and life changing. And I am excited to see where everything goes for you. That's super cool that you created a safe space for women.
Thank you so much. I'm being obedient. I'll just say that.
Now, you spoke about announcement, and I wanted to bring up yours. Did you come out sober? How did that come to be of you being an advocate for people in recovery?
Knowing that I wanted to help serve women, I knew that I needed to find a social media outlet. And so I chose Instagram, and that's where I have based myself. And with that just comes transparency. And like, if God's asking me to use my pain and turn it into purpose, then I just have to break down the walls and just say, hey, if you're looking for a woman that struggled in silence and has found the way to the other side, and it looks really great over here, and you want to see what it's all about, I'm your girl. And that's it. I let my family know that I wouldn't be drinking. They probably didn't know how much I was struggling, but it certainly made them more curious. Some people will, like I said, they'll find out the menu ahead of time for me, which is not necessary, but they treat me with kid gloves, which is really sweet. But yeah, it was just kind of like tear the Band-Aid off and let's go. This is who I am. And if I can help women by sharing my story with that, then that's what I need to do.
I know.
This morning I woke up and I said, I can't believe as a child, if somebody said, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? And my answer would never have been, I'm going to help people quit drinking because that's going to be my story. But here we are.
What a legacy, though. What a legacy to leave behind. I think it's amazing. I'm here
You
for it.
too. Yeah.
I respect it. Were you afraid to come out sober? Did you have a lot of fear about that? What was your kind of feeling going into being an advocate for people in recovery?
I just said, I suffered for so long and I know somebody needs help and my story is going to help someone. And that was it. I felt so grateful. Once I could see the light of how good it is, I couldn't hide it. It was just like, here we go. Let's go.
Yeah.
We're going live.
And you had God on you.
Yeah.
What are your plans moving forward? What's your plans in recovery and your business? What's your 5-10 year plan?
Absolutely. Well, I know that I'm not accessible to everyone, and I know everyone can't, do a one-on-one with me. So I absolutely do want to have a course that women can plug into and get access to the same homework assignments that my clients get. So that's one. I would absolutely love to speak on stages because I think that there's so many intricacies in my story that so many women could relate to. And maybe they're not ready to come out on a social media platform and announce it to their audience, but just making small shifts in their life so that they can have a better life. That's what I would love to do. And who knows, maybe a book one day. I don't know. I'm literally letting God lead me on this because all I know is I've never felt more alive than when I'm sitting across the screen talking to a woman and you can just see the chains breaking. It's humbling, to have that responsibility to help somebody do that. So I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. That you've made me tear up like 3 times. Yeah, that I can see the chains breaking off of the woman. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've experienced that with patients and seeing that shift that happens in their brain. And it doesn't happen for everyone. It doesn't happen overnight. But if you keep showing up, and I think ultimately asking for help. From in my experience, the perfectionism problem that I had, I'm a recovering perfectionist, but that I wouldn't ask for help. I thought asking for help was weakness. And so, realizing that asking for help is actually courageous can be transformative for so many people.
Right. If I may, I want to share something that I hear a lot that I want to address because it's really important is that your spouse or your partner has no idea what your problem is and how you're dealing with it and how big of a struggle it is. And if you're looking to them to get permission, to get help, or you discuss everything with them as one might in a marriage, they don't fully understand how hard this is for you. And they are looking at you and saying, you don't have a problem. Just give yourself that permission to say, you know what? I do. I do have a problem and I need to take care of this. Or if your friends are looking at you and saying, you don't seem like you have a problem, your friends might be looking for justification for them to continue drinking, right? And if you have a problem, what does that say about their problem, right? But I speak to far too many women who hold back from going through with getting help because they're relying on their husband or their spouse telling them, you don't seem like you have a problem. And I say, I could ask you and your partner to look out the same window and describe the tree you're seeing to me, and I probably would come up with a completely different tree than you're both describing. They just can't know what's happening in your body. So this is one time where you just need to know what you know and get the help that you need.
Yeah, that's extremely relatable and helpful. Yeah, I mean, and seeking out people like you who have been through it and then came out on the other side, and these are the tools that they use to get through it. Yeah, I love that. We have made it to our lightning round of our show.
Goodness,
So
okay.
I asked the same 5 questions to every guest. So question number 1 is you're given 3 options. Would you shark dive, bungee jump, or skydive?
Okay. I think I would shark dive.
Okay. Have you done either of those?
I've gone scuba diving.
Okay.
My son wants to skydive. I'll let him have that moment. And bungee jump, I just don't even understand how the first person that did that could possibly do that.
That is so funny. That is so true. It's like, who thought of this idea?
I
It's a
know.
really bad
There's a
idea.
lot of practical issues there.
All right, number 2, you're in a simulation. Every time you walk into a room, the same song plays. What's your song?
Okay, his name is escaping me, but I can't sing, but I throw my hands again and again. All I want is an hallelujah and hallelujah.
In Lake?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Such a good song. I love him. Love him. That's a
He
good
has-
answer. Yes, he does. He does. He's got a great look. He's got a great vibe. Number 3, what is your favorite Disney movie?
Favorite Disney movie? Okay,
Toy Story.
Yes.
Okay, such a good one. All of them. And honestly, a lot of times, number 2, number 3, number 4, they're not good, but all of the Toy Stories were good.
I agree.
All right, number 4, what is something you're obsessed with?
Makeup.
Okay, you're very good at it. Very good. I love that. All right, number 5. This is a great question for you. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means being so alive that anything that comes my way, knowing that if God put it there, to step through that door and to know it's going to be better than anything I could have come up with on my own or any moment that I had trying to get to the bottom of a bottle.
That was beautiful. Don't just step through the door, run through the door, girl.
Exactly. I love that.
Oh, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Your story is beautiful. It's extremely relatable, which I think is what makes it so empowering is you're right. So many women are suffering in silence, but they don't have to, you know? And the work that you're doing now, the program that you have, I love the 3 principles, good format, a little journaling, a little workbook. I mean, this is good stuff that you're doing. So thank you.
I've loved talking with you. I could do the same with you, interview you. I love to do that.
Yeah, we'll do a podcast flip sometime and we'll
That would be so great.
Yes.
Thank you. It has been an absolute honor to be on your podcast, and what you're doing is such amazing work. And I know that you're just hitting so many different people and changing lives. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right, bye.
Bye-bye.